The great doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a deep sound that echoed through the massive hall. Every creature inside stopped talking. Every eye turned toward the entrance. Through the shimmering blue portal stepped a single figure, a human. The first human ever invited to speak before the council. His name was Park Do-hyun. He was 34 years old, a captain in the United Human Coalition's diplomatic fleet. He was not tall by human standards, and he was certainly not tall compared to most of the aliens watching him. But he walked with quiet confidence, his back straight, his dark eyes calm and steady. The chamber was enormous. It could hold thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds. Strange creatures of every shape and size sat in floating platforms arranged in a great circle around the central stage. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had no solid form at all, just clouds of glowing gas contained in special suits. All of them watched the human walk toward the center. Humanity had joined the galactic community only 3 years ago. Before that, humans had believed they were alone in the universe. Then the first alien ships arrived in Earth's solar system, and everything changed. Now humans were learning that the galaxy was full of life, full of ancient civilizations, and full of species who looked at humanity with curiosity, suspicion, or contempt. The whispers had already spread across the galaxy. Stories about the human homeworld. A planet called Earth. A world where the gravity was crushing. A world where the temperatures could freeze flesh or boil water. A world where the very air contained a gas called oxygen that could burn and destroy. A death world, some called it. Most species thought these stories were lies, exaggerations. Surely no intelligent species could evolve on such a terrible planet. Do-hyun reached the central platform and stopped. He looked around at the assembled representatives and gave a small bow of respect. "The council recognizes the human representative," said the Arbiter. The Arbiter was a creature like a floating jellyfish, ancient and wise, chosen to guide council meetings with fairness. "Thank you," Do-hyun said. His voice was calm and clear. A small device on his collar translated his words into hundreds of languages at once. "I bring greetings from Earth and from all of humanity. We are honored to be here." Before he could say more, a loud clicking sound interrupted him. In the section reserved for the Christian Empire, a massive figure rose from her seat. She was Commander Valith, leader of the Christian military forces, and she was terrifying to look at. The Christians were the most feared warriors in the galaxy. They had never lost a war in 10,000 years. Valith herself stood nearly 3 meters tall. Her body was covered in scales that shimmered between blue and green. She had 4 arms, each ending in claws that could cut through metal. Her eyes were like black stones, cold and hard. She stepped off her platform and dropped to the main floor with a heavy thud that shook the ground. Then she walked toward Do-hyun, each step making the floor tremble. "Another soft-worlder," she said, her translator turning her clicking speech into words. "Another weak species coming to beg for protection under our banner." Do-hyun did not step back. He did not show fear. He simply turned to face her fully. "We do not come to beg, Commander," he said. "We come seeking partnership, friendship, an alliance of equals." Valith made a sound that her species used for laughter. It was not a pleasant sound. The other Christians in the chamber joined her, and the clicking filled the air like a storm of insects. "Alliance of equals?" Valith repeated. She stopped just a few steps away from Do-hyun. She towered over him like a mountain. "Look at you, small, soft, fragile." She leaned down, bringing her face close to his. "I have studied your species, human. You are weak, is that so?" Do-hyun asked. His voice remained calm. "You must sleep for 1/3 of your lives," Valith said. "Think of it. 1/3 of your existence spent unconscious and helpless. My species needs only 2 hours of rest per cycle. That is true, Do-yoon agreed. Your bodies break easily. Your bones snap. Your skin tears. You cannot regenerate lost limbs. If I cut off your arm right now, it would stay gone forever. Also true. And your lifespan. Velith straightened up, spreading all 4 arms wide. You live for barely a single century. I am 400 years old, human. I was fighting wars before your great-great-grandparents were born. The council chamber was completely silent now. Everyone watched. Everyone waited to see what the human would do. Most expected him to back down, to apologize, to beg. Do-yoon did none of these things. Everything you say is correct, Commander, he said. Humans do sleep. We do break. We do die young compared to many species. He paused. But you have not told the full story. Velith's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? You speak of our weaknesses, but you do not speak of where we come from. You do not speak of what we have survived. Do-yoon took a step forward. Just one step. But it was a step toward Velith, not away from her. You call Earth a death world. You think this is an insult. But you do not understand what it means to evolve on a death world. Something flickered in Velith's eyes. Not fear. Not yet. But perhaps the first small seed of uncertainty. Words, she said. Pretty words. But words prove nothing. Do-yoon smiled. It was a small smile, but it was not the smile of a frightened creature. It was the smile of someone who knew something others did not. Then perhaps, he said, a demonstration would be better than words. The council chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted and clicked and hummed their opinions. But Velith raised one clawed hand, and silence fell again. Yes, she said slowly. Perhaps it would. And in that moment, Captain Park Do-hyun knew that the real test was about to begin. The noise in the council chamber grew louder. Aliens from dozens of worlds shouted their opinions. Some called for order. Some called for the human to be removed. Some simply wanted to see what would happen next. Through it all, Commander Velith and Captain Do-hyun stood facing each other like 2 storms about to collide. The Arbiter floated down from its high platform, its jellyfish body glowing with agitation. This is highly irregular, it said. The council chamber is a place for diplomacy, not confrontation. Perhaps we should... No, Velith interrupted. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. The chamber fell silent again. The human wants to demonstrate his species' worth. I say we let him. She turned to address the entire council. Her 4 arms spread wide, her scales catching the light. She was a creature of war, and in that moment, everyone could see it. I invoke the right of proving, she announced. The silence became deeper, heavier. Even the Arbiter stopped moving. Its glow dimming with shock. The right of proving was ancient law. It came from the earliest days of the Council, thousands of years ago. When a new species wished to join the galactic community, any existing member could demand proof of their worth. The challenged species had to pass whatever tests were set for them. If they passed, they earned full membership and respect. If they failed, they were cast out, forever. No one had invoked the right in over 200 years. It was considered outdated, cruel, unnecessary, but it was still law. Commander, the Arbiter said carefully, are you certain? The right of proving is, I am certain. Velith looked at Do-hyun. Unless the human wishes to withdraw, to admit that his species is not ready for the galactic stage. Every eye turned to Do-hyun. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. He could feel it in his chest and his bones. Behind him, somewhere among the observers, was a small human delegation. His crew, his friends. He could not see their faces, but he knew they were worried. His communication device buzzed against his wrist. A message from his ship, waiting in orbit far above. The words appeared on his small screen. "Captain, we can extract you in 4 minutes. Say the word. We can leave." Do-hyun read the message. Then he turned off the device. "I accept," he said. The chamber exploded with sound again. But Velith raised her hand once more, and once more, silence fell. "Good," she said. There was something like respect in her voice. Just a tiny amount. "Then let us discuss the terms." She began to walk in a slow circle around Do-hyun. Her clawed feet clicked against the floor. Her black eyes never left him. 3 trials, she said. "That is the traditional number. 3 trials to prove your species' worth." "Name them," Do-hyun said. "The first trial, endurance." Velith stopped walking. "You claim humans evolved on a death world. That your planet is harsh and terrible. We will see if you can survive conditions that would kill lesser species." Do-hyun nodded. "And the second?" "Combat." Velith flexed her forearms. Her claws gleamed in the chamber's light. "The Christians are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. No species has ever defeated us. You will face me in single combat, human. Non-lethal, of course. First to yield or fall loses." A murmur ran through the chamber. Single combat against a Christian commander. It was madness. The human was less than half her size. He had only 2 arms. He had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons at all. But Do-hyun only nodded again. "And the third trial?" Velith's mandibles spread in what served as a Christian smile. "Will," she said. "The third trial is will. But you will understand that one only when the time comes." She stopped circling and stood directly in front of him again. Her shadow fell over him like a blanket of darkness. "These are my terms, human. Do you still accept?" Do-hyun looked up at her. She was massive, powerful, ancient. She had been fighting wars for 400 years. She had killed creatures far larger and stronger than any human. And yet, he felt no fear. This was strange, he knew. He should be afraid. Any sensible creature would be afraid. But somewhere deep inside him, in the place where millions of years of evolution had left their mark, something else was waking up. Something that his ancestors had needed to survive on a world that tried to kill them every single day. It was not courage. Exactly. It was something older. Something harder. It was the simple, stubborn refusal to give up. "I accept all 3 trials," Do-hyun said. "But I have a condition of my own." Velith's eyes narrowed. "You dare to make demands?" "One demand. One condition." Do-hyun's voice was steady. "When I pass these trials, not if, but when you will acknowledge humanity as equals. Not as weak newcomers. Not as soft-worlders. As equals." Velith stared at him for a long moment. Then she made that clicking laugh again. But this time, there was something different in it. Something that might have been curiosity. "You are either very brave or very foolish, human." "Perhaps both," Do-hyun said. "Do you accept my condition?" Velith extended one of her 4 hands. Her claws were sharp enough to cut through steel. But she held the hand open, palm up, in the traditional gesture of agreement. "I accept," she said. "Pass my trials, and I will personally declare humanity as equals to the Christian Empire. The entire galaxy will witness my words." Do-hyun reached out and placed his small, soft, clawless hand in her massive palm. They shook once. "Then let us begin," he said. The arbiter floated forward, its glow bright with nervous energy. "The council will witness the rite of proving. All broadcasts will be opened. Every world, every station, every ship with a receiver will see what happens here today." Velith smiled her alien smile. "Good. Let the galaxy watch humanity fail." But as she turned to walk toward the trial chambers, she did not see the look in Do-yoon's eyes. She did not see the quiet determination there. She did not understand what she had awakened. She had challenged a human, and humans did not know how to quit. The environmental simulation chamber was the largest room Do-yoon had ever seen. It was a perfect sphere, nearly a kilometer wide, made of some strange metal that could change its properties in an instant. This chamber could recreate the conditions of any planet in the galaxy. Burning heat, freezing cold, crushing gravity, poisonous air. It was used to train soldiers, test equipment, and occasionally, to break the spirit of those who thought themselves strong. Today, it would be used to test a human. Floating observation platforms surrounded the chamber, filled with thousands of aliens who had come to watch. Screens throughout the council station broadcast the event to trillions of viewers across the galaxy. The entire universe, it seemed, wanted to see what would happen. Do-yoon stood at the entrance to the chamber. He had removed his formal jacket and stood in just his simple black undershirt and trousers. Beside him, Commander Velith towered like a living statue. "The first trial is endurance," Velith announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "The human will enter the chamber alone. We will recreate the conditions of my homeworld, Krisha Prime. If he survives for 1 standard hour, he passes." A screen appeared in the air, showing the environmental settings. Temperature, -60 degrees. Gravity, 0.4 standard. Atmosphere, nitrogen heavy, thin, barely breathable for most species. The aliens in the observation platforms made sounds of approval. Krisha Prime was known throughout the galaxy as a harsh world. Not the harshest, perhaps, but brutal enough. Few species could survive there without protection. "Do you understand the conditions, human?" Velith asked. Do-yoon studied the numbers on the screen. -60 degrees. Cold. Very cold by galactic standards. But he remembered his training. He remembered the stories of his ancestors. On Earth, in a place called Antarctica, temperatures could drop to -89 degrees. Humans had survived there. They had built research stations. They had lived and worked in cold that would kill most alien species in seconds. The gravity reading made him want to smile. 0.4 standard meant the gravity inside would be less than half of what he was used to. Earth's gravity was 1.0 standard, and humans had evolved to carry that weight every moment of their lives. Their bones were dense. Their muscles were strong. Going into lower gravity would feel like taking off a heavy backpack he had worn his entire life. "I understand," he said. "Then enter." The chamber door opened. Cold air rushed out, and Do-yoon felt it bite at his exposed skin. But he did not hesitate. He walked forward into the freezing darkness, and the door sealed behind him. At first, there was only cold. The temperature hit him like a physical force. His breath turned to white mist instantly. The moisture on his skin began to freeze. Every instinct told him to curl up, to conserve heat, to wait for rescue. But Do-yoon did not curl up. He did not wait. He started moving. He began with simple exercises. Push-ups against the frozen floor. The cold metal burned his palms, but he kept going. His muscles protested, then warmed as blood flowed faster through his body. He counted to 50, then rolled over and did 50 sit-ups in the observation platforms. Confusion spread through the audience. "What is he doing?" someone asked. "Some kind of panic response," another suggested. "Irrational movement before death." But Velith said nothing. She watched with her cold black eyes, and something about her expression had changed. Do-yoon finished his sit-ups and stood. The cold was still terrible, but now he was generating heat from within. His body was a furnace, burning energy to stay warm. This was what human bodies were designed to do. They were not efficient like many alien species. They wasted energy constantly, producing heat as a byproduct. On most worlds, this would be a weakness. Here, in the frozen hell of the simulation chamber, it was his greatest weapon. He started jogging. In the low gravity, each step launched him higher than normal. He adjusted quickly, shortening his stride, keeping his movements controlled. Around and around the chamber he ran, his breath coming in steady clouds, his heart pumping warmth to every part of his body. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The screen showed his vital signs to the watching galaxy. His heart rate was elevated but stable. His core temperature had dropped slightly but remained within safe limits. He was not dying. He was exercising. Impossible. Someone whispered in the observation deck. 30 minutes. The cold was a constant enemy now, always pressing, always trying to steal his heat. But Do-hyun had found his rhythm. He alternated between jogging and strength exercises. When he felt his hands going numb, he tucked them under his arms. When he felt his feet losing sensation, he stamped them hard against the ground. At 45 minutes, he started to struggle. His energy reserves were dropping. The cold was winning, bit by bit. His movements became slower. His breath came harder, but he did not stop. He thought about Earth. He thought about his ancestors who had crossed frozen continents with nothing but animal skins and fire. He thought about the mountain climbers who had reached the highest peaks, where the air was thin and the cold was absolute. He thought about the explorers who had walked to the South Pole and survived. They had not given up. Neither would he. The timer reached 55 minutes. Do-hyun was moving slowly now, his body screaming for rest. Frost had formed in his hair and on his eyebrows. His lips were blue, but his eyes were still sharp, still aware, still alive. 50-8 minutes. 59 minutes. The timer hit 60 minutes, and a loud tone echoed through the chamber. The door opened. Warm air rushed in. Do-hyun stood in the center of the chamber, shaking with cold, but standing upright on his own 2 feet. He had passed. The observation platforms erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered. Others sat in stunned silence. They had expected the human to fail. They had expected to watch him freeze, to watch him beg for the trial to end. Instead, they had watched him fight. They had watched him refuse to surrender. Vela said nothing as Do-hyun walked out of the chamber. Medical staff rushed forward to check him, but he waved them away. He was cold. He was tired. But he was alive. He looked at Veleth and saw that her expression had changed again. The contempt was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Something that might have been the first small spark of respect. The first trial is complete, the arbiter announced. The human has passed. Veleth nodded slowly. One trial, she said. But the hardest is yet to come. Do-hyun looked at her with his frost-covered face and his tired eyes. Then bring it, he said, and somewhere across the galaxy, billions of humans watched their representative and felt something stir in their hearts. Pride, hope, and just a little bit of fear for what was coming next. The combat arena was simple. A circular platform, 20 meters wide, floating above a dark void. No walls, no obstacles, no place to hide. Just 2 fighters and the space between them. Do-hyun stood on one side of the platform. He had been given 1 hour to rest and recover from the endurance trial. It was not enough. His muscles still ached from the cold. His energy reserves were low. But time had run out, and now he faced his greatest challenge. Commander Veleth stood on the opposite side. She was terrifying to look at. Nearly 3 meters of scale-covered muscle and killing instinct. 4 arms, each one strong enough to break stone. Claws that could slice through metal. And 400 years of combat experience burned into every fiber of her being. Do-hyun had 2 arms, no claws, and 34 years of life. The observation platforms were packed. The broadcasts were watched by trillions. The entire galaxy held its breath. The rules of combat are simple, the Arbiter announced. Non-lethal contact only. First to yield or fall from the platform loses. There is no time limit. Do both fighters understand? I understand, Veleth said. I understand, Do-hyun said. Then begin. Veleth moved. She was fast. Faster than anything that Psy should be able to move. She crossed the distance between them in a heartbeat, her forearms coming at Do-hyun from multiple angles at once. But Do-hyun was already moving too. He dropped low, letting her first strike pass over his head. He rolled to the side as her second arm slammed into the platform where he had been standing. The impact cracked the surface. If that blow had connected, it would have shattered his bones. He came up running, circling to her left side. His mind was racing, analyzing, calculating. She was stronger. She was faster. She had more reach and more natural weapons, but she was also used to winning quickly. Humans were not built to win quickly. They were built to last. Veleth turned and attacked again. This time, Do-hyun did not dodge completely. He blocked one of her arms with his forearm, feeling the impact rattle through his bones. Pain exploded through his body, but he pushed through it and struck back. His fist connected with her knee joint, right where the scales were thinnest dot. It was not a powerful blow. It did no real damage, but it made her stumble, just for a moment. Interesting, Veleth said. She sounded almost pleased. You are not as helpless as you look. Then she attacked again, and this time, she was not holding back. The next 5 minutes were the worst of Do-hyun's life. Veleth was everywhere at once, her forearms creating a storm of strikes and grabs. Do-hyun dodged, blocked, and ducked. He used every technique he had ever learned. But he could not avoid everything. A claw caught his side, tearing through his shirt and leaving 3 shallow cuts. Blood began to flow. An elbow struck his face, and his nose broke with a sickening crack. A kick caught his ribs, and he felt something give. Cracked, at least. Maybe broken. He kept fighting. The observation platforms had gone silent. The aliens watching could not believe what they were seeing. The human was losing. That was obvious. He was bleeding from multiple wounds. His face was swelling. He moved slower with each passing minute, but he would not stay down. Every time Veleth knocked him back, he rose again. Every time she thought she had finished him, he attacked again. He was like some kind of machine that did not understand it was broken. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Veleth's attacks became more frustrated. She was landing hits, but none of them ended the fight. The human just kept coming back, kept refusing to yield, kept looking at her with those strange, determined eyes. Why do you not give up? She demanded, grabbing him by the throat with one hand and lifting him off the ground. You cannot win. You must know this. Do-hyun's vision was blurring. Blood ran down his face. His left arm hung useless at his side, probably dislocated. Every breath sent pain shooting through his broken ribs. But he smiled. You still do not understand, he said, his voice rough and wet. We evolved being hunted by predators faster and stronger than us. We survived by being too stubborn to die. He reached up with his good hand and pressed his thumb against her eye. It was not a strong attack. He could not generate much force from this position. But the eye was sensitive, and Veleth flinched. A grip loosening just a little. It was enough. Do-hyun twisted, breaking free from her grip. He dropped to the platform and immediately attacked her knee again. The same knee he had hit before. This time, she buckled. The next few seconds happened very fast. Veleth tried to catch herself with her forearms, but Do-hyun was already moving. He grabbed one of her primary arms and pulled. using her own momentum against her. She was off balance, falling forward. He stepped aside, guided her fall, and then dropped his knee onto her throat as she hit the platform. Not hard enough to kill. Not even hard enough to injure, but hard enough to pin her down, to press against her airway, to show her that in this moment, he had control. The arena was completely silent. Velith stared up at the human crouching over her. His blood dripped onto her scales. His body was broken in a dozen places. He should have been unconscious. He should have been dead, but his eyes were clear, and his voice was steady. "Yield," he said. Velith felt something she had not felt in 300 years. She felt doubt. This creature should not still be conscious. The pain alone should have made him pass out. But he was still here, still fighting, still refusing to accept defeat. What kind of species could produce such a being? She looked into his eyes and saw something there that chilled her to her core. It was not anger. It was not hatred. It was not even determination. It was patience. He would stay here all day if he had to. All week, all year. He would stay until she yielded or until his body finally gave out completely. And even then, she suspected, his spirit would keep fighting somehow. "I yield," Velith whispered. Duhayan nodded once. Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed unconscious on top of her. The arena exploded with noise. Medical teams rushed onto the platform. Velith pushed the human off her gently, more gently than anyone expected, and watched as they carried him away. "The second trial is complete," the arbiter announced, its voice shaking with shock. "The human has won." Won, Velith thought. Yes, he had won. But more importantly, she now understood what humans truly were, and it terrified her. Dohyun woke up in a medical pod. Strange alien machines hummed around him, filling his body with healing energy. His broken bones were already starting to mend. His wounds were closing. In a few hours, he would be almost whole again. A face appeared above him. It was Velith. He tried to sit up, but she placed one of her forehands on his chest and gently pushed him back down. "Rest," she said. "You have earned it." "The third trial," he said. His voice was weak but clear. "The trial of will. We never completed it." Velith made a sound that was almost like a human laugh. "You still do not understand, do you? The third trial was never meant to come after the combat." Dohyun blinked, confused. "The combat trial was the trial of will," Velith explained. "I did not tell you because I wanted to see your true nature. I wanted to see what you would do when you thought you still had another challenge ahead of you. When you thought you could not afford to hold anything back." She stepped back from the medical pod, her scales catching the light. Most species, when they know they have more trials coming, they hold back. They conserve energy. They fight just hard enough to win, but no harder. They save something for later. Her black eyes met his. "You did not. You gave everything you had, holding nothing in reserve, even though you believed there was still another test to come." Dawn thought about this. She was right. He had not held back. He could not hold back. That was not how humans were made. "That is the trial of will," Velith continued. "Not whether you can endure pain. Not whether you can win a fight. But whether you will give everything, even when you think you cannot afford to. Whether you will keep fighting when there is no logical reason to continue." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "In 400 years, I have never met a species like yours. You are small. You are fragile. You live such short lives. But inside you burn something that I do not have a word for. Something that refuses to accept defeat, even when defeat is certain." The medical pod beeped, indicating that Dohyun could now sit up. He did so slowly, his healing body protesting but obeying. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you rest. And then we return to the council chamber." Velith straightened to her full height. and I keep my promise." 3 hours later, Do-yoon stood in the center of the council chamber once again. He was not fully healed. His movements were stiff, and bandages still covered several wounds. But he stood on his own feet, without help, without support. The chamber was even more crowded than before. Word had spread throughout the galaxy about what had happened. About the human who had survived the impossible. About the single representative of a young species who had defeated a Cretan commander in single combat. Velis stood before the assembled council. Her voice rang out clear and strong. "I, Commander Velith of the Cretan Empire, witness and judge of the right of proving, declare that the human known as Park Do-yoon has passed all 3 trials." She paused, letting her words echo through the silent chamber. "I declare humanity worthy of full membership in the Galactic Council." The chamber erupted in noise. But Velith was not finished. She raised all 4 arms, demanding silence, and silence came. "More than this," she continued, "I declare humanity to be allies of the Cretan Empire. Any species that threatens them will answer to us." Now the noise was truly deafening. Aliens shouted in shock, in approval, in disbelief. The Cretans, the most feared warriors in the galaxy, had just offered their protection to the newcomers. It was unprecedented, but Velith still was not finished. She walked to where Do-yoon stood and lowered herself to one knee before him. A Cretan commander kneeling before a human. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. "I understand now what humans are," she said, loud enough for all to hear. "You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are survivors. You come from a world that tried to kill you every moment of every day, and you conquered it. You carry the weight of a crushing gravity, and you do not complain. You face death, and you smile." She rose to her feet and extended her hand to him, as she had done before the trials began. "I am honored to call you my equal," she said. Do-yoon took her hand. His grip was firm despite his injuries. "And I am honored to call you my friend," he said. Later, as his ship carried him away from the council station and back toward Earth, Do-yoon sat in his quarters and watched the stars pass by. His body was healing. His mind was tired. But his heart was full. His communication device buzzed. A message from home. From his wife, Yuna, and his daughter, Somi. "We watched everything," the message said. "The whole planet watched. We are so proud of you. Come home soon. We miss you." Attached to the message was a picture. Yuna and Somi standing in front of their small house, holding a banner that said, "Welcome home, Captain." Do-yoon smiled. He thought about everything he had endured. The freezing cold. The brutal combat. The pain that had nearly overwhelmed him. And he knew he would do it all again, 100 times over, for the people waiting for him back home. That was what humans were, he realized. Not their strength or their endurance or their stubborn refusal to quit. Those were just tools. The real power of humanity was something simpler and stronger. Love, connection, the bonds between people that could not be broken. He had fought for his species today. But really, he had fought for Yuna and Somi, for his parents and his friends, for every human who had ever dreamed of reaching the stars. And he had won. Outside his window, the stars stretched on forever, full of mysteries and dangers and wonders beyond imagination. But somewhere among those stars was a small blue planet called Earth.Home.Duhyan. Closed his eyes and slept peacefully for the first time in days. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same.